Hey.
How's it going?
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us here at the University of Kansas Hospital today. My name is Dr. Lee Norman. I'm the Chief Medical Officer of the University of Kansas Hospital. And I have a couple introductions to make. On my immediate right is Ian Grillot. And Ian is the subject of our discussion today, a brave young man who has quite a story to tell. I've gotten to know over these last few days and am just so delighted that he is willing to share his story. I'll leave that to him. On the far right is Dr. Justin Green. Dr. Green is Associate Professor of Surgery. He's a Chief of the Division of Trauma Surgery, Acute Care Surgery, and Surgical Critical Care. He also happened to be, besides having all those various titles, the doctor that was on call for the trauma team the evening that Ian came in. So what I'd like to do at this moment is to turn it over to Dr. Green to kind of give us the initial steps that he went through, what this scenario is like when he came in, thumbnail sketch of the injuries, and then we'll turn it over to Ian for discussion of through his eyes. So, Dr. Green.
Thanks, Dr. Norman. Well, on the evening that Ian came in, our trauma team was on call. We're a level 1 trauma center here at the University of Kansas, so we specialize in the care of critically injured and critically ill patients. Ian came in concomitantly with 2 other gunshot victims, so we had a pretty busy go of it. Fortunately, though, that's what we're here to do, and are well equipped with our team to take care of multiple patients with multiple injuries. Ian was initially relatively stable, but had suffered a significant gunshot wound that traversed his right hand and then traversed the central portion of his chest. That's a very serious injury, but fortunately, he's making a wonderful recovery. He did require decompression of his chest due to collapse of that lung from the gunshot wound, as well as an initial stabilization that we perform for all critically ill and traumatically injured patients. But thankfully, Ian's injuries, while critical and significant, have proved not to be immediately life-threatening, and our team expects that he will make a phenomenal recovery. He's a strong man and is well on his way to a speedy recovery. So we're grateful that we could participate in Ian's care and wish him all the best in his recovery.
Thank you, Dr. Green. I think at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Ian. He did something on that fateful evening that I think people don't routinely do, and I'd like to have this young man discuss that with us. So.
Ian, can you just tell us what happened and from your point of view?
Well, then they're watching KU play, catching up with some friends that I hadn't seen in a while. Just kind of hanging out, having a good time, having a little bit of dinner, drinking a couple beers, catching up. And then the gentleman had come over, I'm blanking on his name, Adam, I believe. He had come over, he had come outside and started causing a little bit of conflict. And one of my good friends had went up and said, you don't do that. And of course, I noticed him going up and saying that to him. They're about the same size, short guys. And I was like, well, I'm not going to let my friend be in that kind of situation just in case he wanted to do anything crazy. Unfortunately, he did. But I helped get him out of that situation, helped escort the Adam gentleman out of the bar, and unfortunately he returned about 20 to 30 minutes later with a different agenda at that time apart from just verbally harassing. And that's when it all changed. And it's hard to look back on and think about. It's unfortunate that a life was lost during that. But I'm just thankful that now there is new hope and a new light, and a lot of people have gained new hope from this terrible incident. Still is obviously very hard to talk about, but I'm just very thankful that I was able to make it out alive, and along with the other gentlemen.
Did you hear him say anything to the other men? Did you hear him say anything to those men?
I personally did not, but then again, by that time, there was gunshots and this, that, and the other going off. I got on the table, and along with everybody else, we all got on the table. And after he was done shooting, I thought he was out of rounds. Obviously, like you guys have heard, I need to learn my counting skills a little better. But that's when I proceeded to chase the guy down to try to stop that, because I didn't know what was going to happen. If he would have tried to go in the back door and possibly cause more damage, and I just couldn't let that happen. Morally, with my personal standards of life, I couldn't allow that. So that's why I did what I did. And unfortunately, I ended up taking a round as well. That's why I'm very grateful to be alive. I was told I was very lucky with all this, being the circumstances. So I'm just very, very grateful for the terrible situation that it was. That such positivity is coming from this. There's a new sense of hope all around this world now. It's very overwhelming, the amount of people that have reached out to me, that have been thanking me and this, that, and the other. And it's not just here. It's not just in America. It's all over the world, this new sense of hope. And just being that, me acting like that, trying to help save other people's lives, it's now, like I said, it's not just here, it's everywhere. That hopefully people now have a hope, and this whole racial divide and ethnic war that we have going on is, hopefully that can kind of be put to rest, because it's been going on for far too long. We're all humans. There's no reason for us to act the way that we have been.
Ian, you were talking about them being harassed. Do you know what he was saying? There's been a lot of talk that this may have been a hate crime. Did you hear anything that would indicate that these two men were targeted because of their race or color?
I personally did not hear anything. I'm also kind of hard of hearing. But on that note, that gentleman did specifically come back in, and he didn't go anywhere else when he came back with the gun that fateful Wednesday night. He went directly towards those men. And I can't say it, but it seems pretty blatantly obvious what it was.
What was he saying in the very beginning when you first went in to stick up for them? What was happening that made you feel like you needed to step in?
Like I said, I didn't really hear anything of what he was saying. I just saw, and I could only imagine, because I personally knew that they were not what he was assuming them to be, what I've heard. But when I had escorted this gentleman through the bar and out, he was like, "So you're going to stick up for them and not me?" And that's when I kind of knew what he was kind of insinuating there.
When he came back, what was he wearing? Was he wearing something over his head?
He had a scarf or something over his head, trying to conceal his identity, but it's pretty obvious when you're harassing and assaulting guys verbally, and then you directly go back to them when you return with bad intentions. It's kind of obvious on who
He was trying to conceal his face?
Yes, I assume so. I'm not sure, but it seems as if that's what his goal was.
How are you reacting now to seeing all this support that you're getting? And the money donations alone are huge, plus all of the literally around the world support that you're getting. What does that mean to you?
It's very overwhelming. Like I said, I can't say thank you enough for all the support and the outreach that I've been receiving. It means a lot, because it's just, I still can't quite grasp everything. It doesn't seem real, but it was definitely a very real evening, and a lot of lives were changed that night, and a lot of lives will never be the same. So,
There's a lot of chit-chat on the internet throughout the world about how this is a hate crime, and kind of has given Olathe a bad name, and the United States and Kansas a bad name. Can you talk about the good things that you saw happen inside of that bar that night by folks just like you?
well, honestly, I didn't really see too much. I was laying on the ground outside of the bar, fighting for my life at that point. So I didn't really get to see too much of the support that everybody was giving each other. But Kansas is not a hateful place. Olathe is not a hateful place. It's a very passionate place. We love everybody here. For the most part, everybody's got a little bit of hate in their heart. Not everybody, but the ones that do, I feel terribly sorry for them because life is too short to have hate. And that's my philosophy on it. It's too short.
You've been able to meet with one or more of the people who helped you that night. How was that reunion?
It was amazing to be able to actually thank them for saving my life, because without them, I probably wouldn't be here.
Is your voice affected by your injury, or are you just talking?
Yeah.
Why don't you make a comment about that, Dr. Green?
The nerves that control the vocal cords in a person's larynx are frequently affected by either direct trauma or by swelling from a traversing gunshot wound. And so it's hard to say right now whether or not his vocal cord function will normalize over time, but there are certainly procedures that can be done to help improve vocal cord function after this type of injury.
Ian, you've been called a hero around the world. What does that mean to you, and who are some of the people who have reached out to contact you?
I mean, I still don't view myself as a hero. I just was doing the right thing. I feel that anybody should be willing to do that for anybody, whether you know them or not. We're humans. We should stick up for each other. We're all we got in this world. And the people that have been reaching out to me, I can't even begin to describe that, because it's overwhelming. People all across the world have been reaching out and telling me I'm their hero. That I give them new hope. It feels wonderful that I'm able to inspire people and stuff like that, but that's not what I was trying to do. I was just trying to do the right thing. So
He had a wonderful interview today by Skype with a broadcasting company in India. So he's kind of the darling of hundreds of millions of people in India and around the globe right now. It was a really fun, relaxed conversation, and from upstairs in his bed. And I tell you, he's really touched hundreds of millions of people. I think he's
Can you tell us
minimizing
more
that.
about that, Ian? What was that conversation like from India?
they were just the gentleman was just expressing his gratitude and trying to pass across what I've done for the people over there and how much I've affected them and inspired them and gave them hope for things. And it's just, said it a million times, it's just overwhelming. That's about the best way I can put this entire situation. All I was trying to do was do the right thing, and it's definitely escalated past that. My life will never be the same, from my injuries to the friendships that I've made now because of this.
Ian, there's folks literally all over the world watching this news conference right now. If there's one thing that you want to get across to folks here in Kansas City and across the world, what would that one message be?
Stop the fighting. Love one another. Life is too short for hate and anger. There's no reason for it. Yeah, you might get a little mad at your neighbor, but I bet you a little grilling session of some hamburgers or hot dogs and a cold beer ought to solve that. There's just too much hate in this world. There's no reason for it. Life is too short. Perfect example. I almost lost mine Wednesday night. There's no reason for all the hate. You don't like somebody, don't talk to them. Simple as that. It's just...
How are you feeling now? How are your injuries recovering and all that?
Still in a lot of pain, but I'll take the pain. I'm alive. I'm alive and I'm making an impact. I have no clue what I'm making right now. It's very grateful that I'm giving people new hope, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love it.
Have you settled into the fact that you're being called a hero? Is that still something that's uncomfortable for you?
I've kind of settled into the fact I still don't think I am. I was just doing the right thing. But if people want to call me a hero and that makes them feel good and gives them some inspiration, then so be it. I'll be that hero too. So,
And then just to clarify, you said you helped escort the man out, right?
yes.
And then when he came back in, did you do something physically to try to interrupt the shooting? Is that-
Well, I had escorted the gentleman out, and then, like I said, about 20, 30 minutes later, he came back. I was sitting on the patio watching the game, and at that time, somebody had said, he's back, he's got a gun. And by the time I was looking back, he was already in opening fire, and that's when we all bailed underneath the tables. And by the time he was done shooting, that's when I got up and tried to chase the gentleman,
You'd already been
the guy
shot by
down.
then?
I was not shot by then.
Oh, when you were chasing him is when he turned and shot you?
Yeah, when I was chasing him down, trying to subdue him so that way he could be held responsible for his terrible actions, that's when he turned around and shot.
How close were you able to get to him before he ended up shooting you?
I was, my hand was about to be on his shoulder. I was right behind him.
So you came up from behind and he heard you, or what happened?
He was leaving in a fast pace, obviously. And I don't know if he may have heard my boots or what, because I was in my work clothes. I just got done working on some shutters that I was staining for work. Heck, I think I still got a little bit of stain on my hands from it. And I think he heard my boots, and that's when he turned around and fired.
Were you awake through the time that you were shot till the time that the ambulance got there and the medics started working on you?
Yeah, I was awake, thankfully, because if not, I may not be here. I was just trying to keep a cool and level head, trying to make people laugh, crack some jokes, because that's just me. That's my personality. You ask any of my friends, I'm always a guy to try to make people laugh. And I knew if I didn't make people laugh, it may stress me out and make me more nervous, and that could have been very detrimental to my life at that time.
And we heard somebody, a witness, said that they thought it was you that might have said, "Why did he do this? I don't understand." Were you talking, was that you that was talking, or was that the other victim?
I'm not honestly sure. It's kind of a blur. I remember making some jokes. They said they didn't know if they could lift me into the ambulance, and I was like, am I too fat or what? Trying to keep a little humor. And I remember while I was in the back of the ambulance, while they were bringing me up here, I was like, oh shoot, when you turned around, and oh, what's wrong? And I was like, oh, I forgot to pay my tab. Just trying to make them laugh and keep the environment just as relaxed as possible, because it was a very, very close call. And if I would have gotten nervous and started letting myself get nervous, my heart rate started going, I may not have made it to the hospital.
Will you go back to Austin's?
Oh, I definitely will. That's another family there. It's the environment there, which it's so sad to see that this bad media has been brought to Austin's. That is the greatest place for bars that I've ever been to. And it's not even a bar, it's a family restaurant. It's a very, very nice place. Everybody is nice there. You always see smiling faces.
Did you know these two gentlemen?
I did not know them on a personal level, but whenever I would go in there, I saw them maybe about once or twice a week, or about once a week maybe. And every time I saw them, just because I don't know a stranger, I say hey to everybody. So I'd say hey to them and try to make them laugh, or them make me laugh, and go on our own ways. But I mean, I always said hey to them because they were cool guys. I liked them, and I mean, we weren't on first name basis, obviously, but I don't know a stranger. So.
Had you ever seen the gunman in there before, or did you ever know of him?
I had not ever seen him before. I'm not sure. I'd heard that he was a regular there, but me personally, I had never seen him.
Can you point to exactly where you were shot?
Well, went in through my hand here, and then exited out the bottom side, and then right there went in and crossed over my chest.
It has been removed, right? The bullet is gone.
Oh no, I got a cool souvenir. It's still in there. They said it would potentially cause more damage by removing it. So unless it's detrimental that it needs to be removed, they said it would just stay in there.
I think you might find interesting, Dr. Green, if you would comment, there are some kind of important structures here that were not hit. Would you just give us a brief anatomy lesson, because I think these guys might find that
Sure.
fascinating.
That's what we call a traversing mediastinal gunshot wound. That's a bad problem because in the central part of your chest, the mediastinum, that's about the highest priced real estate you have in the body, short of the brain. The heart, the trachea, the large blood vessels, both arteries and veins coming off and going to the heart, are relatively central in that portion of the chest. Not to mention the spine and the posterior portion of that compartment, the esophagus, the trachea. Anytime you have a penetrating injury to that area of the body, you risk significant cardiac, vascular, and tracheobronchial injury. So it's a lot of high-priced real estate in a relatively small package. So
So doctor, just how close was he to death?
real close.
Like millimeters? How close would you describe it?
Yeah, centimeter, 10 millimeters. About
What
close
is-
as you can get.
What is the prognosis? How long do you expect Ian to be in the hospital from here on out?
You know, he's doing so well. I think getting his pain under control, and then our hand surgeons may yet have additional work to help with the injury to his hand. But as far as his chest injury and overall fitness, he's recovering really, really well. So hopefully within the next couple days, he'll be able to get on out of here.
Ian, you talked about pain. What kind of pain do you have? Is it in your hand? Is it in your chest? Is it all over?
All over. All over.
Just a lot of aches and pain?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did that Adam seem intoxicated to you that night?
But yeah, he did. And I also heard there was a lot of other variables that had him emotionally distraught. There was a lot of things going on in his life that I've heard about. And I do feel sympathy for him, but that is no excuse for the actions in which he did. There's no excuse for that, trying to take another man's life.
If he's found guilty, what do you think the punishment should be?
It's not something I really want to comment on. I do feel sympathy for him, but his actions were unjustified and uncalled for.
That's pretty remarkable in itself that you're talking about how you feel for him. Maybe you can explain that a little bit more.
Like I said, I love humans. I love people. Obviously, he's got a lot of things going on with his life, and I don't know what was going on through his head. His actions were unjust, but I'm just grateful to be alive.
There was some police radio traffic that when he came back in, he had a shirt with military medals on it. Did you notice that?
Initially, when he was in there, I did notice he had a naval blouse with awards and ribbons on it, but I didn't really see when he came back in. When he came back in the second time, it all happened so fast, and it was kind of a blur.
Do you forgive him for what he did to you?
I don't think I can say I forgive him because he nearly took my life, he took another man's life, and he had the intent to take another man's life. To me, that's not forgivable. I understand he had a lot going on, but there's other ways that he could have gotten that across, that he wasn't happy with the situation. Trying to take another man's life is not acceptable.
You say that it seems to you that these guys were targeted because of their ethnicity. Do you think this should be prosecuted as a hate crime?
It's not really something I want to get in and talk about. Politics, kind of where that comment was going. Politics are going to be here even after I'm long gone and this is all past. It's always going to be around, and it's never going to change with the way things are. So it's just something I don't really feel my comment will affect anything. So.
Do you want to hear the president speak to this issue tonight in his speech to the nation?
It would be nice for him to give some closure, because I know people all around the world are waiting for something, some kind of statement. He's made statements on the Oscars and this, that, and the other, but not this, that took lives. And that is a little upsetting to see that. But Also, I do understand this is a very sensitive subject, so hopefully he's just trying to figure out the right things to say and the right ways to word it. But
Can you clear up for us? Do you live in Grandview or Olathe?
I was living in Grandview. I'm going to be moving back out to Olathe now, though. I was remodeling houses, and that was just a lot more convenient. And now I don't think I'm going to be able to do that anymore. So,
He's right-handed, we might point out.
yeah. This is my money-making hand, and it's no longer the same hand it was 6 days ago. So,
When you got shot, did you realize immediately that you had been shot and that you may be in trouble, or did it take a little bit of time for you to be like, holy cow, I just got shot?
you definitely realize it right away. It's not a little tickle. You can definitely feel it. So,
Did you run outside then? Were you able to get outside on your own, or did someone drag you outside, or what?
I had went outside pursuing the Adam gentleman, and that's when it happened. That's why I was saying I wasn't able to experience what was going on inside because I had tried to pursue Adam and try to take him down
So
to
you
where
were
the cops
shot
would come
outside
in.
the bar, and then that's where you
Correct.
collapsed.
Correct.
Got
But
it.
the other two men were shot inside the bar?
Correct. I'm very grateful for the simple fact of if nobody would have came outside, I may have died right there on the concrete because there was 5 gentlemen that came out and helped save my life out there that fateful night.
Who were they, do you know? And you have spoken to some of them?
Yeah, I've spoken to some of them. Blanking on names. It's been very hectic. It's kind of losing things, remembering things. Maybe I'll remember the name sooner or later. It's just kind of a lot right now.
It sounds like you might need to do a shift in careers or jobs or something. Have you thought about that? I mean, do you know what direction you might be taking it?
Not really sure yet. This is still a lot to process. I'm just very grateful to be here. So very soon I'm going to start looking at what I'm going to be doing, but right now I'm not quite sure yet.
What do you have to say to the 2 gentlemen that flank you? Because it seems to me that there's more than one hero in this room.
I definitely agree with that. Thank you. That's all I can say. No other way to put it.
He's a good one. We have, I promised Ian that he wants to save his breath and save his voice, so if there's one last question, we'll take it, and then I'm going to wheel him on out. Dr. Green is kind enough to stick around to answer any questions you might have about some of the technical aspects. Any last question?
Just
Any
anything
concerns
you'd
to
like
people?
to say to the people?
Thank you for all the support. It's been overwhelming, not just for me, but for the other families and everybody affected by this. It's awesome to see. I just wish it didn't have to be an instance like this for the support and the communities coming together all around the world. I wish it didn't have to be from an incident like this, but I'm just very grateful to see it happening.
He's got a great family support. His mom and dad are here now, and it's been a real treat to get to know his family. So thank you very much. I think we'll go ahead and stop the interview at this point. We'll get him back to his room, and Dr. Green, if you'd be willing to stick around for a few more minutes, just appreciate it.
God bless
Thank you,
you.
Ian.
Thank you.
Thank you. And,
Oh, my goodness.
dragon stuff.
There you go. Look at that.